Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to the Cool Kids Lunch Table Podcast with PJ and Mike. Now find yourself a seat at their table.
Hello, welcome to this week's episode of the Cool Kids Lunch Table Podcast with PJ and Mike. I'm PJ.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're going to review some stuff. We're going to be reviewing, well, Mike's going to be reviewing the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child Broadway play.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to do a little bit of a review deep dive on some independent comics that have been coming out over the last few weeks that maybe should get a little more love than they do, because everyone knows Marvel and DC get the superheroes get the big attention. But some independent books we'll go over. But first, we're going to talk about the Cursed Child, and so we'll start with our childhood memory. What is the worst play you've ever seen?
So I remember being back in the day with my family. I think it was like early 2000s. Remember like Circus Soleil got like really big?
Yeah,
I don't know when Circus Soleil started, but like at one point it became
huge. It was
huge.
everywhere.
They would just slap their name on anything.
Yep.
There was this performance called like Wind Tuck. I didn't even know what the storyline was, but it was at the theater at Madison Square Garden.
Okay.
So like it's like a theater within the garden itself. But all I remember, I don't know, it's some kind of takes place in a town. I don't know. But dude, it was so. My whole family saw it on Christmas Eve. All of us fell asleep. I don't even know. I can't even tell you what the storyline was, but it was just boring. You know, they do like acrobatic crap. You know, but I just remember that being the worst thing I've ever seen. The only good part was actually we all woke up at the end, because at the end they blast all like fake snow like everywhere. Right. It's like a blizzard in there. But other than that, it was terrible.
So I was trying to think what the worst play I've ever seen was, and I realized I don't go to see a tremendous amount of plays.
Yeah. Neither have I. But
yeah, I wouldn't say this was a bad play, but the one I probably
or a musical.
Yeah,
shitty musical.
I would say the one I enjoyed the least, and this is probably considered one of the best plays of all time.
Right.
Was Wicked.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's not that it was bad. It's not that it was bad. I mean, the songs they're catchy. Like everyone knows the big songs from there. I hate The Wizard of Oz. I despise everything about The Wizard of Oz. If I never had to see another Wizard of Oz movie or reference or anything ever again, I'd be fine with it. And this play is just all Wizard of Oz. So I sat there and I'm like, I hate this. It's boring. I really don't want to see this.
Right.
But I went because, Jen wanted to see it, so we went. And again, it was acted well and the songs are fine and everyone's very talented, but I just cannot stand Wizard of Oz. So that's probably my least favorite play that I've ever seen. I don't dislike a musical. I like going to certain Broadway shows. I just don't go to that many.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of musicals, actually. Even though I love music and I love film, I love acting. For some reason, musicals don't really turn me on most of the time.
I don't mind them. I know a lot of people don't. It doesn't bother me. I've seen when they made Rocky into a Broadway show, and I thought that was fun.
Yeah,
Spider-Man. I go a lot of the ones that are not.
You like your traditional,
not your traditional Broadway ones. I saw the Alanis Morissette one. That was good. But, some of the original storylines and shit, I don't give a fuck. But if they take something I like and they put some music and songs in it and some singing and dancing, I'll watch it.
Yeah. So, PJ, actually a good segue. So, guys, for the folks listening at home, I saw Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I got these tickets for my wife for Christmas. So we're in April right now, so it was many months. And, yeah, we got really good tickets. Really good seats and tickets. It was $189, and they redid this whole theater. Like this, it's the Lyric Theater. So I don't know if this was some other theater, but I'm assuming it was.
Right.
And it's immaculate. I mean, the whole thing is like they transformed the whole inside. I mean, and I'm not just talking about they put some new paint. I mean, they put, there's a pattern on the floor that basically says it's the letter H, supposed to be for Hogwarts.
Okay.
But it's gorgeous. You can lick it's beautiful. You can lick the floor, lick anything. So it's gorgeous. But yeah, it was like $189 for a ticket, and they have like a little program. So they actually removed 400 seats.
Really?
Yeah, and they added more like opera seating on the sides. So I'm like, because it's more spacious, and you're still, when you're sitting next to someone, it's still tight.
Right.
I can only imagine But I lucked out because our seats were right in front of an aisle, so actually had no one sitting in front of me.
Oh, that's the best.
I was like, I always take a bunch of pisses, which comes later on to this story I'll share. But yeah, so it was like great. I don't have to worry about someone being gigantic.
Have you ever sat on those like opera seats that are like on the side.
No.
I've always wanted to sit there. I've never sat there.
I feel like number one, I think I'd be channeling Abraham Lincoln.
If she were a president, she'd be Abraham Lincoln.
That's kind of messed up. But the other point, I feel like I'm like almost looking sideways the whole time. I can't picture like, almost like watching a tennis match,
Yeah, I just always wanted to do it because in the movies, everyone always sits in those seats.
Yep. I think of Inglourious Bastards too. But yeah. So folks, all right. So I just saw this last night, so I might be a little all over the place. So I did try to write some notes prior. So okay. So like I said, a beautiful theater. So you can do like a special edition thing where you get there like super early, maybe like an hour and a half earlier, and you get like behind the scenes and all this other stuff. You have a drink at the secret bar. We didn't do that. But you get this email that says, "Oh, we recommend you coming like at 6 o'clock. Enjoy the inside festivities." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." So we got there early, and honestly, it wasn't anything special. It was just like, merchandise.
Right.
Your bars that have like, themed drinks.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. And they had like a phone booth. You could take a picture. A lot of photo crap. So I'm like, okay, it wasn't anything like, they boosted it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was fine. It was great. But anyway. All right. Okay, I'll say this. You're going to love this if you're a huge Harry Potter fan, I love Harry Potter. I didn't read the books, so I'm like maybe a half a fan. I don't know, maybe they consider me a muggle sometimes, whatever, what a mudblood, really. I got into Harry Potter because I went to Universal Studios. And
the theme park is great.
And I was like, whoa, I need to get into this. And that's how I got into it. I got into the movies, and, I did my Wikipedia, so I know fairly enough how the books are different from the films. So anyway, unless you've seen the movies or read the books, it's going to be hard to enjoy the show because, like, you're going to just get it's actually a little bit of a confusing storyline because I'm going to choose some light spoilers here just so people get the context. So there's a lot of, in the third book, they use it's called a time turner, which basically means they have like a time machine.
Yes, okay. So, yes, I remember that in the movies.
So, there's Prisoner of Azkaban. So this play, and this is a play, it's not a musical.
No singing.
No singing, no dancing. I mean, they have, like, music in the background.
Right.
And they do transitional pieces to change the sets. They have crap playing.
They do the Harry Potter theme?
No, they don't do Hedwig's,
Really?
Yeah. I know, I was expecting that when they hit the house lights. I'm like, oh, shit, here we go. But it was just like, boom, bop, boom, boom, very Broadway.
Okay.
But when you hear the music, there's no actual singing, so it's just maybe choir. So it's no like Harry Potter's in town. Nothing like that. Like it's just like instrumental. But so if you're not if you can't just walk into this stage like you can't walk into this show like like my dad likes like plays and my parents but they would not enjoy.
They wouldn't know what's going on.
No way.
Right,
you need to have context. And I'm also gonna. I guess there's another somewhat review. I'm going to talk about Back to the Future, the musical, just to compare, because they both deal with time travel.
Yep.
And they're both from gigantic franchises. I know one's from a book and one's from a film. But
still, huge franchise.
Yeah, and Back to the Future is a musical.
Yes.
So, Peach, I know you saw that.
I loved it. I thought it was really fun.
Yeah, I loved it too.
Yeah.
I would give it like an 8.5 out of 10. And I'm going to do a little comparison more as we go through this. But anyway, here's the storyline for Cursed of the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. So long story short, it kind of takes place right at the end of the final book. So where Harry's putting his kids on the train, so it's...
So I remember that scene in the movie because there was some terrible CGI and he looked like a weird caricature of himself.
So basically, he has I think he has 3 kids, Harry. Okay. This play really focuses on his youngest. His name's Albus.
Named after Dumbledore.
Yep, Albus Severus Potter. So it's about him. And what happens, this is one of the plot storylines, he becomes best friends with Draco Malfoy's son.
Ooh, scandalous.
Right, exactly. Oh yeah, it gets way more scandalous. So and they're obviously Draco and Harry don't really get along. They don't really want them hanging out with each other. But Harry's son Albus has a hard time making friends, and I guess this is a little light spoiler. He does the Sorting Hat. He doesn't go into Gryffindor. Or he goes into Slytherin. So this is very like, oh my God, sorry folks, but trust me, there's a lot. This is a 3.5 hour play too. Oof. Yeah, so let me tell you something, guys. I'm not spoiling barely anything. There's a lot, going on in this play.
But when the movies ended, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan. I've seen the movies.
Right.
I don't even know if I've actually ever seen one of those movies all the way through from beginning to end.
Oh, wow.
I think I've probably seen them all in pieces. Maybe the last one in the theaters or something. But Didn't they get along at the end of that movie? Like, didn't they sort of like?
Well, there was more like a I guess like they. Like a mutual respect thing,
Okay.
like cordial.
Right.
You know, this one, I wouldn't say like they're like villain. They're like
Okay.
hate each other, but just more of the same thing. Like, look, man, like I know we're cool now, but let's
Okay.
not be lovey-dovey kind of thing. So anyway, what happens is, like I said, these are just you can see this on Wikipedia. This is a major spoiler. So he gets into that house, becomes friends with Draco's son, and Albus doesn't really have a good relationship with his father, Harry. You know, because he's like, you know, he's a son of you know, Harry Potter. He's, you know, he's not getting any you know. And people kind of tease him for being that. So what happens is he decides, and there's another character named Delphi, this girl, kind of like the Hermione character, basically. They want to go back in time to save Cedric Diggory. That's the guy who gets...
That's the guy from Twilight.
Yep.
Or Batman.
Yep.
He's Batman.
Yep. He gets smoked. Hopefully people know the storyline here, but you know he gets killed.
Yeah, things go wrong.
So they figured, we have this time machine. Why don't we bring some people back? Like, if we bring him back, is it really going to mess everything up? Anyway, it does.
It messes everything
so
up.
That's kind of sets the show, this plot in motion. I'm not going to... I'll leave that. I'll leave it the rest for the people to go see it. But that's basically the gist of what happens. But like I said, this is 3.5 hours long. Like I said, you know, we know what time travel gets very confusing. You know, and like, let's say you never saw Back to the Future and you saw that play. It's so much more linear because it's like, okay, he got back in time. Now he needs to get back to the future.
Right.
This is like, whoa. If you don't know the Harry Potter storyline, you're going from like different books just to make people understand. You know, you go into multiple timelines. You're changing multiple timelines. It gets a little confusing.
And it's probably even more confusing. Do they have like young Harry Potter actor, old Harry Potter actor?
They have like one scene. They do have like a young Harry Potter
guy. Because if they're just
guy.
using the same
right
old Harry Potter actor,
yeah, no,
okay.
Yeah, but he's barely you barely see young Harry.
Oh, you don't
Potter.
See young Harry.
Maybe one scene you see.
Do you see old Harry?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You see old Harry. Okay.
So I'll just get into the pros.
Because he's not the main character. The kid's the main character.
Yeah, he's the main character.
They only call it Harry Potter because no one's going to go see a play called Albus Harry Potter. Okay.
But the guy who plays Harry Potter, he's actually in it a lot. He gets a lot of stage. The people you see the most is actually Albus. That's his son, Draco's son, and then Harry Potter himself. They get the most screen time. Okay. But I'll just go from some positives. Like I said, the theater is gorgeous. Like, I mean, it's unbelievable. Like the special effects they do in the show, like they do like legit magic tricks. You know, like the way they make like things levitate.
Right.
You know, like there's no like obviously there's strings. I'm assuming somewhere, but they do it such. You know, like once they grab the item, like how do they just disconnect it that quick? You know, there's a lot of good practical effects. Okay. You know, they do a lot of good things where like people are getting sucked into the walls. Or there's if you're familiar with the movies or the books, they take like this called like polyjuice, which basically means you can transform into somebody else. Dude, they do this transformation thing. It's unbelievable. It's like they drink the potion, they go like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and then all of a sudden, seamlessly they turn into like another person. It's not the same actor putting on a wig. I mean, it's like an entirely different person.
Interesting.
They do a really great job. So the special effects are awesome. There's one point that gets very scary. I don't want to spoil it, but it gets like almost like a horror film. Like, whoa! Like if there's a little kid, you'd be crapping your pants.
So there's no Voldemort or anything. So we're not seeing like Dementors or anything like that. I don't want to spoil anything, but do they have?
I'll say this. You see the Dementors. They come out, but they are badass, man. And you're basically gonna see all the main characters. Again. Basically all the main ones.
So they're all gonna show up.
Villains, all of them. Okay. Yeah, it's really cool. But the Dementor thing was badass. I mean, it's like like I said, not just like the broom levitates, the people levitate, and it's not like you see them coming out with a harness. And we talked about Cirque du Soleil. Like they do it so seamlessly, where like, I mean, I guess someone in the background is wearing black, and they just click the lid, but they do it so beautifully done. I mean, the special effects, all that is done. The costumes are great.
Do we see Hagrid? He's my favorite in Harry Potter.
No, he's not in it.
No Hagrid. That's my favorite Harry
That
Potter
was a good question. Yeah, he's not in it.
All right.
Like you're getting like the main, like you see all the kids. Harry, Hermione, Ron. Ron's hilarious. He's like really funny. The play's very funny too. It's really good. Like I said, all the acting's fine. All that stuff is great. All those are the positives. Okay. Okay, guys. Some of the cons. Okay, here we go.
Here's what we're waiting for.
All right, so like I said, the cons, like I said, it's too long. You could, because there's at one point, like you have intermission, right? And actually, real quick, so during the play, I had to take a piss. I'm like, I can't hold this. I have to go. So like, you go into the hallway. It's like pitch black. I know they have like the exit
Right.
sign, but it was so like barely dimly lit. Dude, I tripped on a stair and I fell. I did a tumble door. Okay, so but anyway, I rebounded. You know, and the ushers like watched me on the flight. You know, catch myself on the flight, bash my left knee though. He's like on his phone. He's like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What do you stand up at least, see if I'm all right, man?" But anyway, it was fine. I didn't really miss anything, you know. But yeah, like I said, it's too long. And like I said, that was even before intermission. Right after intermission, a part of the story resolves. And you're like, okay, like you almost feel like I would be very content if the show ended
here.
basically here.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, okay.
We have more of this.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, you're not allowed to look at your phone at all, you know, during the show.
Really?
Like they'll flash you and all that crap. So like, but in my head, I'm like, I don't really like sometimes to think about time while I'm watching a movie. Like I want to be lost in it. But I'm like, I'm like, this definitely isn't. I'm like, we definitely have like another like hour and a half left, and this part of the story resolved. I'm like, ew, okay. Well, what's the next thing that's gonna happen? So that's the problem with time travel. It can be very, you know.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: not actually about the show itself. What time did the show start? Like
7.
So you went to a 7 o'clock show. That's too late.
And then you got out, and it's a 20-minute intermission. And actually, there was, and the second half, there was a technical difficulty where basically snow falls.
Right.
I think the snow poof thing started too early, so they actually had to stop the show for like 10 minutes. But
see, I always try and do like a matinee because these things they go on for so long, and now you're leaving a theater at like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah. No, I agree. I didn't realize it was going to be 3.5 hours long. I thought it was like, I guess 2.5 hours. Because Back to the Future was only maybe 2 hours and a half.
Yeah, it wasn't long.
Maybe 3.
Like, I don't even think it went 3.
Just maybe either that, but definitely 2 hours. But this felt like a shift, half a shift of work.
Jeez.
You know, so it's too long, you know, and I'm trying to say the tricky thing is like when you have time travel, you have to you can't almost edit anything out. You have to, you know, but anyway, so the story, like I said, is confusing. If you've never seen Harry Potter, know anything about it, you're going to have a rough time. Okay, so I call this like the Star Wars thing or other stuff where they start to make characters do stuff like it's like not really with their character. I don't want to share it because it's going to, basically, like, there's certain characters who say things. I'm like, I don't think that character would say that. That's not That's not who they are. They would never say something like that. If you want to say they have a spell on them, that's one thing.
Right.
But that's not the case. They say things that character would not say that. Like, just like Luke Skywalker.
Don't get me started on it.
Luke Skywalker is not going to kill a child while they're sleeping.
Don't get me started on that movie.
Which one is that one? Force Awakens, they talk about that, right?
No, the one where that's the stupid Last
Jedi.
Jedi.
Last Jedi. Okay.
It's the last
right, we find out Last Jedi that,
I hate that movie.
He's going to, smoke some kid while he's sleeping. Yeah, this is the same thing where like no one's gonna get killed, but like you're like that person wouldn't say that to, especially to their, their own family. I'll say that this person's not gonna say it to his own family member. Like no way, this is not in their character. I hate to even say this. Albus is the main character. I find him totally unlikable. Totally unlikable. Great acting. He did what the script is. The director told me that there's no issue with the acting.
Is he supposed to be unlikable?
I guess so, because Harry and Albus have a strained relationship. So I guess he's supposed to be more bratty and annoying, blah blah blah. But I mean, like, I guess it's somewhat of a spoiler. At the end, he doesn't really have a character arc. I mean, there is, but he's still, in my eyes, still annoying, immature, and just.
They all have British accents, or
yes, they do.
They do. All right.
Which I can't believe I almost forgot when they show something like, oh crap, they're gonna speak in British accents, It's not like a movie where there's space. You have time for space. In a play, it's more rapid. So like my ears had to like retune. You know what I mean? Get itself repitched. But yeah, I think Albus was a very unlikable character. However, his counterpart, Drake, his name's Scorpius.
Okay.
Draco's son. He's very likable, very funny, and basically like the comic relief besides Ron.
Right.
But everyone in this play has a one-liner. Everybody does. Like I said. For me, that's the thing that doesn't work because like I said, I told you after you think the play is gonna end that second. There's this other thing that happens with this other character, which I think is the more interesting storyline in my opinion, which I think they should have devoted more time to. I don't like how it got resolved. I'm like, what? That's the bigger thing,
right?
Like how could you just kind of just end it like that? That's more devilish. It's more. I really don't want to spoil it, but like. Because it's a big turn. You know what I mean? It'd be ruining the play. But I'm like, but that should have been like, I'm like, that should have been like part of. They should have resolved. I keep Draco's son. Scorpius and Albus's issue, and then this other thing should be basically the entirely second half, or just you find out what happens in the end right at the end of the first act, and then but it was the other way around. And then this isn't a bad thing. There's just some things in the play I was just kind of caught off guard. You know what I mean? Not bad, not at all, nothing like that. Sensitive people alert! Look out! So just things I just didn't expect. At one point, they go back in time, okay, and you see. Now look, Harry is white, okay, in this play. Hermione's black, which is fine. Ron, is still white.
Right.
But when you go back in time, you see Harry's parents. His mom was black. But his dad was white. I just thought it was funny because, it's not like the guy who played Harry Potter is like, like
any shade,
biracial or anything like that. So I just thought I caught off guard.
It's magic.
Yeah, exactly. And the other part, maybe this is the more juicier thing. And I think, like I said, you want to talk about a play should focus on different things. It should have focused on the second storyline or the second part of the play more, in my opinion. And this other part, which was, it had to be. It was basically Draco's son and Harry Potter's son. They might be having a gay relationship in the future.
Is that really in this show?
Dude, it's not. Hold on. Like I said, look, I have nothing against that stuff. It's almost like, I know a part of the thing is also like, I guess she takes from Shakespeare. I know J.K. Rowling wrote this with someone else.
Yeah.
So obviously, like I said, during the play, they don't want them hanging out because of of Harry's and Draco's past issues, and they want to be best friends. But there's like this.
Yeah, they do.
Very and what was that show? Ambiguous gay duo.
Yes,
you kind of feel that, So like they never flat out. They don't kiss in this, but there's a lot of scenes. I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna kiss. Because after the play's over, I'm with my wife. I'm like, did you think they were gonna kiss? And then I heard some other girls, the woman speaking to her friend. She's like, oh, one of these gay boys gonna kiss. I was waiting for that. So like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. I just was caught off guard because like I said, that should be the storyline. They should have Brokeback Mountain. That's the storyline. Not
Hogwarts.
Not bringing back Cedric Diggory. You should really make it about this. If you're gonna do it, my thing is, if you're gonna do it, go all the way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like Disney does that thing. I think in South Park. Make them black. Make them. If you're gonna do that, make that the main focus, though. Don't just insert it here and there to
just do it.
Fill out check boxes now. Like, you gotta go all the way. So
it's just,
but they don't kiss or anything like that, folks. They don't kiss or anything. Relax, But there's just a lot. There's like an underlying thing, or maybe in the future they're gonna come to.
You know what they should have done? Just as a giant fuck you to J.K. Rowling.
Right.
They should have made.
I know you're gonna go.
They should have made Baby Harry
right
transgender or something like that, just to because she's always in the news about how much she hates those people, which Well,
I think.
Go away, J.K. Rowling.
Right.
That's what I say to that. But she's always has to talk about it. Right. So they should have taken her characters. They should have made Harry into a girl.
Right. Which I think will happen in the future in some adaptation. But which is fine. I don't mind. But
Harry should have done the cut-officus to his ding dong, and that would have been the ultimate fuck you to J.K. Rowling.
Right. But like I said, that part of the play I was not expecting, and not that I wasn't offended, but I'm like, that should be the storyline. The storyline should have really been them being unable to like a Romeo and Juliet thing, and this other storyline that deals with this. I'll say with that girl, the girl who's basically the fill-in for Hermione as a kid. Her name's Delphi. That should really be the main thing. It becomes the main thing at the end of the play, but her thing should be the the main focus. Not even you can use Cedric as like your get the plot moving.
Right.
Get the
just like a plot device kind of
Yes,
thing.
that's it. Perfect. Thank you. Plot device, which it basically is, but they focus too much on it. But I really think they should have made it focus on her because she's.
So it's not really a sequel to the movie or the books. It's a sequel to the idea of what Harry Potter is.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you don't. It's not like you read the book and this is the exact follow-up. It's not like you watch the movie, it's an exact follow-up.
Yep.
It's like in your mind, you know who the characters are and what they did, and this is just like an alternate reality future sort of thing.
I guess so.
Because like it doesn't seem like it's gonna connect well to the movies or the book.
No, I can see why a lot of Harry Potter fans are like it's not canon or they don't want a movie of it, and I don't really think would be really worth it for a movie because it just, like I said, basically with the stuff what they do with the characters, I'm like I don't think that character would say that or do that, and like I said, if you're gonna do, like I said, all right, you know the girl Delphi, I'll just say this: what makes her juicy is she's connected to some of the main villains.
Okay.
You know, the main fucking villains, you know.
Right.
And I'm like, that's it.
That's the story, yeah.
Right. Which they do touch on, but barely. I'm like, how did you what? Like I said, they spent too much on Cedric and all that other crap. But anyway, yeah. So that's kind of the I would give it like a 7.5 out of 10.
7.5
Mainly
out of 10?
because the story I said was not the strongest. Everything else, like in the theater, is awesome.
7.5 is not bad.
Not at all. No,
Yeah.
it's worth the price. If you're a Harry Potter fan, you're gonna love it. You know, but I would not recommend it for people who are just oh, let's just go see a play. Do not do that. If you know nothing about Harry Potter, do not see it.
So you compare it to say like a Back to the Future because they're two movies, right? The two franchises. They're using time travel in both of these.
Yep.
Which I know one's a sequel and one's a retelling, basically.
Right.
But which one is more successful in keeping to the spirit of the franchise?
I think Back to the Future.
Back to the Future.
I'm not saying it because people are saying, "Oh, Mike, I am a bigger fan of Back to the
Right.
Future," but I love Harry Potter. But I think why Back to the Future works as a play is number one. I think it's a musical, so the music. I guess it's a quick review on that. Yeah, I like the music in Back to the Future because they do Huey Lewis in the News, they do Chuck Berry, they do Earth Angel, and the original songs.
They're not terrible.
Fine. They're fine. They're fine. Yeah. I mean, are you gonna buy the soundtrack? No, but they're fine. And then that show is really more of a parody of Back to the Future.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's a retelling of the first one, but it's really a parody. So it's really a comedy show.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's very funny.
And it's just like I said, time travel can be very exhausting. But if you never saw the films, if you saw that play, you're like, okay, he got back into the past, and now he just needs to go back to the future.
Right. Yeah,
Harry Potter is like you got to go back. Whoa, multiple.
Too much.
You're basically going to like there's 7 movies or there's 8 movies, right? Just for
Do
people.
they go through like all of these things? Like you're gonna see a little bit of each?
I want to say that, but like they talk about events that happen in
Okay.
each basically in each book, and it's like if you don't know all this, I guess you're gonna be like what,
All right.
So, but going back to the Future, like I said, I would give that play like an 8.5.
I thought it was great.
9.
I really loved it.
I think that's more. You can walk off the street and enjoy that show. It's funny. It's just it's a quicker pace.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know a play is different because it's more dialogue heavy, clearly, but yeah, the music really works in Back to the Future. I said it's funny.
Yeah, I knew you'd like it after you
They
saw
do a lot
it.
of pop culture.
Because I know when I was reviewing it, you were a little like iffy about it, but I knew you'd like it when you saw it. The music's not that distracting.
No.
The guys who do the actors are not a great. The guy who does
oh my God, George McFly is amazing.
I told you he's the best.
Yep.
He's got the laugh perfect.
Yeah. And Doc and Marty, those 2 actors are great. And what I love about it too is like I said, it's really it's a parody of Back to the Future. So but their comedic cosmic energy,
it worked
with
great.
The comedy is like, man, those 2 guys just so much chemistry, man.
It really felt like look, they're not Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd, but they have a connection and energy like
I'm
they
sure
did.
that was a part of the audition process.
Had to be.
We're like, we need to get 2 guys who have chemistry.
Yeah, it really works out.
So, and that, like I said, Back to the Future I would definitely recommend. And there's a lot of good, they do a lot of good, I guess, political jokes, stuff, relevant. Like, they poke fun, let's say, COVID at one point. And
I thought the best scene in Back to the Future was when they're in the past, and they're in his lab, and his mother shows up. I thought that scene was hysterical when they do that in the play. But, all right, so...
we're Back to the Future real quick. I don't know if they saw this, because I think with Harry Potter, I heard they updated it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I think they updated Back to the Future too.
Okay.
So I'm just curious. There's 2 scenes I did not like in it. I guess these are spoilers, not really.
Right.
At one point, Marty's fighting Biff. Not the main fight towards the end. Like when they're fighting in the school.
Yeah.
Did they have that scene?
I think they did.
Okay, so they're fighting each other in that scene, and then at one point, Marty pulls out a lightsaber. Did you see that?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
remember
Marty
that.
pulls out a lightsaber. I was
That
like,
I don't remember.
"Ugh." The joke didn't land.
Okay.
And because I don't know if they're trying to do a callback where he says, Darth Vader. From
yeah.
But he just pulls out a lightsaber out of nowhere.
I don't remember that.
He doesn't tap it,
Right.
take off his head or anything. But that part I just didn't like. I'm like, oof, that joke didn't land,
Yeah.
And then there's the other. I guess this is a spoiler. I mean, look, we know Marty gets back to the future and everything, but I don't know why they even felt they needed to do this. But they have George McFly Day. Did you have that?
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't really like George McFly Day. I'm like, you could have just had that moment.
Yeah.
Like you had in his house.
Exactly.
But
because they needed a reason to have that song at the end.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
really
yeah.
what it came
Yeah,
down
I
to.
understand. But if I could have removed those two scenes, I would. But
So here's what I want to ask you then, because both of these seem like they're very effect heavy, practical effect.
oh
heavy.
yeah.
Do you feel like Broadway needs to do that to keep people interested? Because in movies and TV shows, there's just more and more effects as technology progresses. Because I always kind of felt like when you go to a play or a musical, I don't expect like that. Like I don't expect to make it. Almost feels like in a way you go to like a Disney show, like in the parks, and they have like these little cheesy effects for the characters and stuff. I feel like it takes away some of the. Like, Broadway always kind of felt a little more serious than a movie to me.
Yeah.
Do you feel like those effects kind of take away from that?
I think these effects are done so well that they're not cheesy.
Okay.
This isn't like, like the Disney, like you said, the Disney World are doing some. These are like totally intricate.
Okay.
Like.
Because the Back to the Future ones were great.
Yeah. No, I got to say, actually, I think this Harry Potter is more effects heavy because they're doing so much magic.
Okay.
Like when they go back in time, they do this effect with lighting. It's amazing. It goes like that. Like it's kind of like distorted.
Yeah.
I'm like everyone in the place at first. Everyone's like, whoa, like it really feels like you're going like vibrating. Like the whole place, like it was incredible.
All right.
But yeah, I would recommend it if you're a Harry Potter fan. Definitely see it, no doubt. Like I said, but some of those things I said in terms of story, you might be a little bit.
All right.
But I do think if they were to do another revision, I think it could really be super great, But all the acting, all the other stuff is fine.
Okay.
It's great.
Right.
But yeah, definitely recommendo. And I want to say, did I leave anything else notes out? No. But PJ, I think you. I know your wife's a big Potter fan.
Yeah, she's a big.
I
Harry
think you would
Potter fan.
enjoy it. I think you would enjoy it.
Okay.
I don't think you'd be miserable.
Right.
It, but yeah. See you matinee, PJ.
See a matinee. That's the real thing. See a matinee.
Mm-hmm.
I only go to matinees now. One, they're a little bit cheaper usually.
Yep.
And two, I don't know if it's because
I saw
I'm
Back to the
getting
Future
older,
at night.
I just can't stay awake. And so if I'm out at 11 o'clock at night in the middle of the city, no, it's not for me.
I think
I also here's the other thing. This is me. I'm a strange human. But I don't like to eat before I do a thing. Because if I eat before I do a thing, I will inevitably have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the thing that I want to be doing. And if I'm going to like a 7 or 8 o'clock at night show, I have to eat before the show. Because I'm not going to eat dinner at 11 o'clock at night when this thing gets out. So now if I eat dinner at like 5 o'clock, right, whatever time it is, and we walk over to the theater, we go in there, and now we're 10 minutes into the first act here, and now I gotta drop a deuce or something. I'm like, I just paid all this money to watch the show. I'm gonna miss it.
Yep.
So I always like eating after the thing.
Right.
And if you go to a late show, you can't do that. If you go to like the matinee, if it starts at like 2 o'clock or whatever time it is, and then it's done by 5 or 6, and then you find a place to eat. You're eating. You're on the train ride home. You're done. And then because like the digestive system is going to do what it's going to do.
Oh yeah.
And I don't want it to get in the way of all the things that I plan on doing. So because even if I travel, when I'm traveling, same thing. Like if I'm going to a play, but if I'm traveling, I don't eat until I'm at my destination.
Right.
I don't know if it's.
See,
just
I
me.
can't do that because I'll get like I guess I'll say I get part hangry. I get very faint.
Yeah, I fight through it.
I can't do that.
I fight through it.
But we ate dinner beforehand, which I was nervous. I'm like, oh crap, I don't have to take a crap during the show.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
But I survived.
You never know what you're gonna eat. What if they, what if they put something in the food that doesn't, you don't know. You don't know what's gonna happen.
Yep.
Next thing you know, they use some seasoning you're allergic to. You missed the whole show. Your face is blowing
You're
up.
having liquid ass. Like,
yeah.
that time.
Anything can happen.
Yeah.
So that's why I always like to eat afterwards. So I can't do a late show for that reason.
Right. But, Peter, before we get to your comics, I just want to talk about New York City real quick.
Oh, God.
So, New York City, I got to say, it's back, baby.
Is it?
It's the old school Wild West. You know, it's not like in the early 2000s where it's super safe. It's packed again. I'm happy to see Times Square
and people
packed.
getting punched in the face because they got their phones out.
There is a tinge of like, it's nice to have Penn Station back because I think the last time we actually talked about New York City was actually about I went to the Harry Potter thing, I think episode 2 or 3, but Penn Station's back. Like, oh, you have roast pizza again. You have Dwayne Reed. Oh God, I need to get like candy bar now.
Yeah.
Like all those things are available. Andy Ann's is back. It's like, oh, thank God. But sadly, there's actually a lot of homeless now.
Yeah.
More homeless than I was like, wow. And there is a tinge. I mean, New York, we talked about this in the past, how like it's always going to be weird. That's what makes New York City New York City. It's always going to have a tinge of like dangerousness, a little bit of danger, a little bit of sexiness too.
And,
and
some oddity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and odd. Exactly.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of that. Just in terms of fashion and all that stuff. I love all that. But yeah, I think people are blowing up like. Yeah, I don't think you have to walk around paranoid.
No.
But like any place, you want to stay alert.
Yeah.
Well,
the thing in the city now is if you're walking down the street and you're looking at your phone, someone's just coming up to you and punching people in the face. Some lady got got rocked in the face because she was looking at her phone. Her jaws wired shut.
Oh man.
Yeah. I don't know if you heard about this.
I heard. I didn't realize she had her jaw wired.
She had her jaw wired shut because she got rocked in the face for looking at her phone. Because these people everywhere, people are getting pushed in front of subways, trains every day.
Yeah.
It's like
no, I wouldn't take the subway, but when you get back to the the Long Island Railroad, I was like staying alert. I'm like,
it's like Gotham City.
Yeah,
you need you watch the Batman with the new Batman where they're.
I just saw that.
I think they're in a subway thing at some point, and I'm like, this is what it feels like now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but yeah, folks, definitely check out Back to the Future. The musical, and I would definitely recommend Harry Potter if you're a Harry Potter fan, though.
All right.
But this is a good segue because PJ, we're going independent comics, and which I think is a nice segue because you have Back to the Future from this franchise, and then you have it started off as a book. So at one point, J.K. was an independent writer, and then she turned into this. So hopefully these these comic book writers now will.
We'll get lucky and get a movie based on
and
their,
look, I think everyone is starving for new material.
Yes.
And I think finally the movie industry is realizing like, we need to go back. Everyone always talk about we gotta go back to the 70s or the 60s, but the reason why those things are so popular, they gave people chances.
Yes, exactly.
and that's you've been writing off that for the past 40 years plus.
Yeah.
Now it's history repeats. Now it's the time to do that. Let certain things die. You gotta let.
Yeah.
The quote back, not back. Last Jedi. Let the past die. That's okay. You can let Terminator. Let it go. It's a classic. You can let it stay there.
We don't need any more of those. Yeah.
Exactly. We
need
that.
something new.
We don't need any more Star Wars. Star Wars is please, for the love of God, just stop.
I mean, you can keep giving me Star Wars, but please don't just make it good. I don't really want to see any more Skywalkers. That's the thing with Star Wars.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like you need to.
You can
start
keep giving us Star Wars. The galaxy is a very wide space. There has to be more than one family in this.
More than one planet. More than one.
Gotta be. This has gotta be. But anyway, with the comic books, I picked out a few, and I'm not going to go super detail into all of them. And I have them out here, so as I'm talking about, you can flip through them. So the first one I wanted to talk about is called Torpedo 1972.
So PJ, before you continue,
sure.
Where did you find it? Was this, obviously you have your own comic book store.
That's how I found it.
Okay. I wasn't sure if word of mouth.
That's a good question. So let me start with that before I get into the books. So I've read comic books my whole life. We know this. Everyone who's listening knows that because everyone knows that I talk about comic books a lot. I always read what was on the rack in the comic book store, which are predominantly your superhero stories, your Batman, your Superman, your X-Men, whoever, right? Everyone reads superhero comic books because that's what always was popular. And for the most part, whenever I would go into a comic book store as a kid, that's all they had. And as I continued to, I guess, grow in the world of comic books, I would expand my horizons. But again, it was very much limited to, well, this is what this comic book store has, and so this must be all that exists.
Yes.
But now I have a store.
Yep.
And when I'm in a store that I own, and I'm looking through the catalogs, and I'm looking through all the stuff, I see all this crazy shit that I never really looked at before. Because I used to say, Well, if it was good, then it would be with DC or Marvel.
Yeah,
right? Because
right.
when you're just a consumer, you don't really know what else is out there. If you're,
Right.
So now I'm looking through and I see a bunch of new stuff that I've never seen. I'm seeing publishers and I'm seeing companies that I've never heard of before, and at the very least, I can order one and read it myself and throw it on the shelf and see if someone buys the one.
Right.
Maybe next time I'll buy 2 issues of that and put it on the shelf. And I kind of was trying to gauge what I thought might sell or what I'd be interested in, and then trying to. I don't want to use the word sell like I'm trying to sell people something, but so people come in. What do you recommend? I might recommend something that's not Superman or Batman if I know more about it. So I was expanding my horizons to help the customers that came in. And one of the books I found was called Torpedo 1972. Now, the reason I found Torpedo 1972 is because I recognized the artist. The artist's name is Eduardo Risso, and he was the artist on a phenomenal comic book called 100 Bullets. And if you've never read 100 Bullets, you should. So I recognize the artist name, and he's a guy that's he's done Batman for a while. He was in DC's Vertigo line. He's done books that a top tier artist would do for a big publisher. So when I saw his name on a book from a company called Ablaze Comics that I really wasn't familiar with, I said, well, I wonder why he would be involved in something. If he's done Batman, like, why does he have to do something smaller?
Yeah.
So that's what caught me on this book. And so I thought I'd give it a shot.
Yeah.
And it takes place in the 70s, 1972, and it's about a mobster, a mob boss.
Okay. I was trying to figure out from the cover and also the name. I felt like maybe some kind of war or
I'm gonna
someone's
hand this to you so
nickname.
you can look at it, but you'll figure out. Look at that page. You can see what movie they're in. It takes place in 1972, and the movie shows them there in The Godfather.
The Godfather. Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
So Torpedo is the gang name of a gang boss. That's his name, is Torpedo. So what's interesting about this is I didn't know this originally. It's from a Spanish comic called Torpedo 1936, or Torpedo was the original storyline. And that came out in the 80s in a Spanish horror book called Creepy. Now, I'm familiar with Creepy magazine. I was familiar with it, but I'm not like a collector of it. And there was a character in that book where they would do, it's more like an anthology sort of a book, Creepy. And it was about a mobster in New York City whose name was Torpedo, was his mob name. And this is an update, takes place in the 70s. So the first book takes place in 1930. This is 40 years later. And the character's name is Luca Torelli, and he's a Sicilian-born mob boss. And now in this book now takes place in 1972. So now he's not a young man anymore. He's an older, towards the end of his life mob boss. It's not for kids. If you flip through that book, you're gonna see some stuff in there. There's a lot of assault, violence.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff in there. It's not made for a children's book. It's for you're an adult reader. Yep. So as you see it, maybe we'll put some pictures up and things on the video or whatever when we post everything. But essentially,
have to blur this stuff out, folks.
Yeah, but essentially, it's just going through the latter part of this mob boss's life, and I'm a sucker for mob boss stuff. I love the Godfather movies, the Casino movie, Goodfellas, The Sopranos. I'm a sucker for that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's always kind of been around, right?
And those are just stories are just really interesting.
I
think most people are fascinated by the mafia, and I think it's just it's so compelling. Everyone's
absolutely
so interested in it.
So when I saw that this is what it was about, and I thought the covers were pretty striking. Here's another one. You can look through that one too if you want. I thought the covers were striking. You read a superhero book, it's always the superhero in a pose. Like, that's the cover of the book, right?
Yeah.
Majority of the time, it's always a static pose. These don't look like traditional comic book superhero covers.
No.
The art's more I wouldn't call it realistic art, but it's not bright and vibrant and super heroic. It looks of the time.
Yeah, it reminds me of like Humphrey Bogart kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Film noir.
Yeah, it's very noir heavy, noir vibe when you read it. It's a real good book, and if you're into like the mob stuff, it'll resonate with you. And the way it was actually, this actually came out. I didn't know this. This book came out a couple of months ago. It's new, but it originally came out in 2017, only in Spanish. Then they released it in America this year, in English.
Right.
And they do a good job. It doesn't feel like the dialogue doesn't make sense. Sometimes translation that happens. They do a good job with it. You would never know.
Right.
But it's really, when I read this book, I'm like, wow, this is for an adult reader. It's a mature subject content. They really capture the essence of those mob films and those mob movies and the mannerisms and the language, the way they speak.
Yeah.
You know, it was really done
It
well.
probably sounds like a nice break from like superheroes, where like nothing's revolves around a
Yes.
power
Yes,
or
exactly.
or a weakness. Just
Yep.
seems like
It's
sounds like-
grounded. It's very
yes, and
grounded.
It just feels like, just
And I love the world building. It takes place in 1972. They're in a movie theater watching The Godfather. Like the world building, it feels so real because that's when the movie came out. That's what was on the.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. And I read some reviews online, and people were having an actual, almost a negative reviews to it.
Really.
And I'm sitting here thinking I thought it was really good, and I wonder if
what's their
people were
issue with
saying,
it?
oh, it's too violent, it's too dark, it's too this. And I think
to me that doesn't
Yeah.
that's not fair. That's not a fair.
No, and I think
Like-
it's because so many people are used to these, like comic book violence and superheroes is over the top. It doesn't feel real,
Yeah.
right? People getting thrown through walls and knocked through planets and shit.
Right.
So it's violent, but it's cartoon violence.
Yeah.
This is very realistically portrayed, and I think people are like, oh, it's too dark, it's too this. Probably because they were used to your normal comic book violence.
Yeah.
So this isn't like that. It's very realism. It's very grounded, but it was very, very good. So I would recommend that. And then another book I took out here is, I'm going to save this one to the end. I think you'll be interested in this one. This is called Blue Book 1947. Are you familiar with Project Blue Book?
No.
Okay. Project Blue Book is actually a military thing. I'm going to get you some dates because off the top of my head, I don't remember. Hold on. It was a code name of the systematic study of unidentified flying objects by the United States Air Force from 1952 to 1969. There was an original book for this called just Blue Book, right? And it took place during that time period.
Sure.
What's interesting about this book is it's not based in fiction. There was a pilot. His name is, I believe, Kenneth Arnold. Kenneth Arnold is a real pilot in real life.
Is that the guy who's on Joe Rogan? Oh no.
Everyone's been on Joe Rogan. I don't know, but they
talk about like MK Ultra, all that kind of stuff.
He is the first pilot to have claimed to have seen a UFO.
Oh, okay.
So
now all these names sound. Oh, this gentleman sounds familiar.
He is. He died in 1984, so I don't think he was on Joe Rogan. So because he's been dead for a while. He was born 1915. This book is sort of telling the tale of how he tried to get the word out that there's some shit in the sky that don't make sense, guys. And I'm a respected pilot. I think he had some military background. He wasn't someone that was a joke of a human that you would say isn't believable. He was a respected person in the aviation world.
Right.
And he's reporting that he's seeing this, and he's not the kind of person that would make it up. The art is fantastic. It's done by his name is Michael Avon Oming. He's a fantastic comic book artist. He's done many, many books. And it's written by James Tynion, who is again a very prolific author in the world of comic books. It's called Blue Book because Project Blue Book. It's like a prequel to the original one. And this is kind of like where the idea, why the government started getting the Blue Book, the idea of are the Men in Black real? They take the blue very literally, and they make all the art is only blue.
Oh.
Instead of black and white, it's like a blue tone.
Yes.
Which is very, very eye-catching and very striking. I'm someone who's fascinated by the idea of aliens.
Oh, yeah.
I love the X-Files. Like, the truth is out there. Like, I can't tell you how many books I have on UFOs and, reading all the interviews and things about people who, like, claim to have been abducted. Like, I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So this book being about someone who saw aliens, and it's not fiction. It's nonfiction. It's based on what this guy saw, almost biographical in a way. Very interesting. Again, it's not in the superhero. It's not in the superhero world, right? And I think it's a little more traditionally comic than Torpedo is. But it's unique. It's different. The art is striking because of the color palette they use with that
awesome.
blue tone. I can't recommend it enough. Dark Horse Comics put this out. Torpedo was done by Ablaze. This is put out by Dark Horse Comics. Again, really something that I think most people might look on the shelf, not know what Blue Book means, and walk past it.
Yeah.
It's a reference to something that has happened.
Right. And
in
if
the
you're
world.
into conspiracy theories, I think you would enjoy this. And I think it's like basically like you said, a blue tone. It's like basically blue, black, light blue, basically different shades of blue.
Yeah.
And with black and white. And actually almost like you said, this it's nonfiction. It's almost like I feel like the blue helps with almost like you're reading this guy's memories.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's all super vibrant, I think it almost not wouldn't be as authentic, really.
Right.
Retelling his point of view. So I think this kind of color tone really makes it work, because he's recalling what happened to him. You know?
So that was two. The next one I have here on my list is an interesting one. It's called The Last Mermaid.
Oh.
Which doesn't sound like it would be something I would read, right? You'd be like, why does this guy read about mermaids? What's he talking about? It's the story and art is by a person called Derek Kirk Kim. I don't know anything about this individual. It was called The Last Mermaid. What drew me to this book is the dimensions of the book. We'll put pictures up. It's not the regular shape of a comic book.
Oh.
It's a square, right? Most of the time you read a comic book, everyone's familiar with what it looks like.
Yep, like the rectangle.
Like the rectangle, this is a square. It's much different. And it takes place in
Is that I'm assuming for the artwork too? Does he have a unique?
He does have a unique style of artwork.
So maybe they needed that bigger panel.
I think that's exactly what it is. It takes place in what appears to be a post-apocalyptic world, and we're following a mermaid. It's The Last Mermaid. Now, when I first got the book, what was interesting to me is you could see on the cover it's a person in like a mech suit.
Yeah.
Right. The mermaid is in that mech suit. I won't go too spoilery on the book in case you read it, but it's a post-apocalyptic world. All the water is poisoned. That mech suit has a bubble that she just floats around in with fresh water, and she's looking for fresh water so she can live. Because as of right now, the only things that we knew existed on this planet is this mermaid and her little fishy friend. I don't know.
Yeah. I see right now. It's cute.
And then she's looking for a place to live. She comes across different mutants and monsters that she has to fight, and she's looking for a place where can she continue to be alive. And this mermaid is in this mech suit to stay alive. And it's an interesting art style. It feels very...
This is something that they should make a movie of. This is perfect. You get a pretty girl.
Yep.
Action heavy, new. You got the little frog, little
fish
guy. There's your toys.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like it could be a movie.
Hello, money.
Yeah, just flipping through it, right? The art style on this is...
It's great.
It's great. It's not like regular art. I don't want to say it's all computer-generated art. I don't think it is.
No.
But it's also not like the traditional look of a comic book.
Yeah.
It's very...
Just looking at this issue that you gave me here, it has a lot of blues, oranges in it. I guess it's technically blue. But yeah, it's really...
very muted color palette because it's a post-apocalyptic world. So the color palette kind of...
You could definitely make this work.
Absolutely.
This is basically... I like this one a lot, actually. This might... this reminds me of looking at the comic book itself, folks. It's very Mad Max, like Fury Road.
Yep.
Meets it's like Edge of Tomorrow, those kind of mech suits, mech warrior kind of thing. And I think of Artificial AI. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
Artificial Intelligence with Jude Law in it and the kid from Sixth Sense.
Yep.
It reminds me of that. But yeah, AI. Yeah, I like that one.
So, and then the last one that I picked out here is from Boom Studios.
Boom, okay.
This book is called The Displaced. Ooh. I'll give you a little, just throw out the name of the people who wrote it. It's written by Ed Brisson, illustrated by Luca, that's a tough last name, Casalanguida, colored by D. Knief, and lettered by Hassan Otsman Alahau. I don't know if Elhau. I don't know if I said that right. It takes place in Canada. This book, again, not a superhero book. That's a theme here. None of these books are super heroic.
Right.
This takes place in Oshawa, Canada, in Ontario, and essentially it's a horror science fiction mystery book. I'm gonna take a look at that one.
Yep.
The idea here is this town of Oshawa, Canada, Ontario in Canada, vanishes. Whole town, 170,000 people in this community, this city, disappears without a trace. The thing is, if you live in the city and you're there when it vanishes, no one knows where you went. You're gone. The rest of the world forgets that the town ever existed. Which is where to go. So if you lived there, right? If we're in Levittown disappears,
Right.
but you were on vacation that day, or you were I don't know, anywhere else.
Right.
You were in the city and Levittown disappears. You remember that you come from Levittown,
Right.
but no one knows who you are because Levittown never existed.
Whoa.
Right? Like that's the story. To put it into terms to make it easier. So if you were from Oshawa, Canada, Ontario,
Yep.
but you weren't there when it disappeared, all the people that you may have known that were from outside the town don't know who you are anymore. No one knows who you are.
Yeah.
If you were, but if you don't stay with the other people that were from that town, you'll start to fade away and you'll vanish also. So if we're both there and we're, you want to call it survivors of the event, right?
Yep.
If we stick together, we won't disappear because we'll remember each other.
Right.
But then if we don't stick together, I'm immediately going to forget who you are. You're going to forget who I am. We're going to disappear. And the mystery is, well, where'd the town go? Why is this happening? Has it happened anywhere else? How do we reverse it? And it's only 2 issues in, so I don't have the answers for those yet.
Oh.
It is written.
Let me see that.
Yeah. It is written fantastically. It's a very smart book. It's not, it's super, super well written. The art, I think, is very good. It's this one out of all the books we've had, the art feels the most traditional comic book.
Yep. I agree.
Which is not a bad thing at all because it is a comic book. It has the most traditional looking art. So if you're someone who's only ever read a Batman or a Spider-Man and you jumped into this book, you would follow the way it's laid out. You'd follow the art. It would feel familiar to you. You just don't have a superhero in this one. It's a horror, mystery, science fiction-y take. And I think books like this, or all of these books, aren't getting enough love because people don't know about them. They don't know they existed. Because, again, people are focused on what they've always seen, which is DC and Marvel.
Well, when you think comic books, you think of superheroes.
Exactly.
You know?
And there's a whole genre out there
Yeah.
that has nothing to do with superheroes.
Yeah.
And it's still in the same medium of a comic book. And I think this is the kind of stuff where if we're going to adapt things to movies,
Yeah, has to be the next phase.
this should be the next
They
phase of a
have
comic book
so much
movie.
a plethora of even this. Looking at this is the first time I'm looking through these comic book folks, the displaced. It reminds me of just films. People just get an idea they can paint in their heads, like The Mist.
Yes, The Mist. I was going
Was
to
that
say
Stephen
it.
King, right?
Yeah, it's very much like The Mist.
It reminds me of like Twilight Zone, clearly, like what monsters do on Maple Street kind of thing, and maybe the inverse of that. But yeah, this is definitely cool stuff, and the artwork you said is a little bit more, like you said, traditional, but at the same time, it reminds me of like I can't put my finger on it. Just this reminds me of I think I gotta mix. What was it? The Torpedo one. This place in Torpedo reminded me. Remember that movie with Brad Pitt? He's like goes into like a comic book world.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh,
can't
that was
think
the
of
name of that.
Like Cool World. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of like that kind of artwork.
Yes.
Like if you took those and you're like, so.
Because everyone's always talking about the comic book movie, the comic book. Well, I forget who it was. Was it Scorsese who was like a comic book movie doesn't deserve an award? It's not.
Yeah.
And I don't.
That's a bit of a stretch, but
I mean that's what I don't
Right.
agree with him when he was saying these things, but I think what he was trying to say are those movies are over the top. They're when you think of
they're so commercial.
so commercialized. These kind of thing, you can make a comic book movie based on any one of these, and it's not going to feel so commercialized. It's not going to feel so over the top. It's going to feel like a tighter story. It's going to feel more like a film story because they're not traditional comic books. And I think this is what the next phase of comic book movie should be.
It should be for sure. And all these like Displaced, that's a TV show.
Yep.
Last Mermaid, that's a movie. That's
Yep.
definitely a movie. Blue Book, that's probably I can see a TV
Yeah.
series. Torpedo, Either way, you could do a movie
could
for
go
that.
either way with
that
that
one,
one.
you could do either or.
Yeah.
But those other ones, man, Hollywood, there's a lot to.
There's a
people
lot.
want new stuff.
Yeah.
People love new things. I always say that. Even with a comic, we'll go back to comics real quick. The movies that have been big in the past 20 years really haven't been Batman or Superman.
No.
It's been Iron Man. It's been Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy are honestly probably the biggest franchise
all of them,
out of the
probably.
besides
I agree.
probably him and Iron Man.
Yeah.
Them and Iron Man are the biggest ones out of the whole franchise.
Yeah, I agree
You
with
know?
that.
You know, no one. I mean, it's just kind of what it is.
Because
you
people
know?
want to see something
Aquaman,
new.
you know, look, you say the movie's good or bad, but that made $1 billion
Yeah.
the first one. I mean, like,
Because it was
people
things
want-
you haven't seen before.
yeah.
You know,
So
it's
I mean,
nothing
like,
you haven't
these
seen
are
on the
all
big screen.
look, and we know movies like Road to Perdition. That's from a comic book. That
Yep.
was excellent. I mean, Walking Dead is a zombie thing. That's a TV series. That's from a comic book.
Right.
So I mean, like,
Yeah.
please change it up.
People want to see
Please.
something new. There's nothing wrong with doing an adaptation. It's still new to a lot
Yeah.
of people. But it gives you something different. You know, it's not the same bullshit you've always seen. I think comic books, and I've said this for years, but comic books doesn't get the respect it deserves in the world of like, you know, pop culture and fiction, because it's always looked at as being like a childish form of
Right.
entertainment.
I think that changed, in my opinion. Well, I know you're not the biggest fan of the guy's films, but I think the Dark Knight trilogy
Yeah, no, it did.
changed the
Yeah.
tone. Changed
Yes.
the tone because you would never have gotten Watchmen. You wouldn't have gotten Joker for sure. Now, definitely Joker.
Yeah,
But,
I think it's a medium that should get more respect, and I think it's starting to. I think you
Yeah.
know the Nolan movies did help a lot because it was more grounded and not so out there and cartoony.
Right.
I think the serious tone helps. I think there are plenty of books that are funny and have that tone.
Yeah.
That's fine, but I think that there's just more to comic books that people need to really dive into, and I know a great place where you can go to find these comic books. That would be at 2055 Hempstead Turnpike in East Meadow, New York. Cool Kids, Comics and Toys. And also stop by on the 13th of April. So when this comes out, I don't know when the Thursday's date is.
I think
But
the 11th or
The
something.
11th
10th or something
on the
like that?
13th. So if you hear this on the 11th or whatever day it is, the 13th is Saturday. Stop by. We're gonna have a local creator here. He does a podcast, a radio show. He came out with a comic book. His name is Mark Torres. He'll be here in the shop doing a signing for his books. So
Amazing.
stop on by. Come
Yeah.
support a local shop and a local creator.
Yeah, folks. So look, thanks for listening. You know, check out Harry Potter on Broadway. Check out Back to the Future, and check out these beautiful comics: The Last Mermaid, Torpedo, 1972, The Displaced, and Blue Book, 1947.
All right.
All right, folks. Same time, same table.
Have a good one.
Boys and girls, lunchtime is over. For more information, visit their website at coolkidslunchtable.podbean.com. Follow the boys on all social media platforms. Just search Cool Kids Lunch Table Podcast. Now get to class before you get detention.